Okay, guys, welcome to my day one wrap up of the Munich HighEnd 2024. I'm wearing this shirt, Get Lucky by Loverboy. I was today. I tell you what, this was one of the best first days of a show I've ever had. And it's somewhat predictable because I did this coverage a little different than my normal coverage where I just start on the floor and then go every room, one right after the other. With this show, because it's so huge, and I know I'm not going to get to everything anyway, I did target, as I posted on the YouTube channel, a list of favorites I had identified. And so this first day, I did something totally different. I targeted rooms where I knew my intuition, for the most part, most all these rooms, I targeted them and thought that they would deliver. And sure enough, they did. In some cases, exceeded my expectations. So I want to just tell you right off the bat, pretty much all the videos I filmed today would be top notch in terms of favorites of the day because of how I did this first day. So I'm not going to regurgitate every one. I think I uploaded almost 50 videos in one day. Probably a new record for me. I don't know. But incredible day. And I have a list, though, of things that came to the top of my head when I think of day one of Munich 2024. These are the things that come to my head. So starting off was, first room I stopped at was the Primaire audio vector in an acoustic room. They were so kind to let me store my bag there during the day. And again, those are the greatest guys. The acoustic guys cover every base from the quality of construction, aesthetic, quality control, everything, performance, measurements. In acoustic, thumbs up. Love seeing those guys and the people behind the brand and their recordings too. But Primaire is a brand that I found last year going into their room because they partner in that room. And I was so blown away by the chassis design. It's definitely my aesthetic vibe, just totally perfect. Everything they do, from the power button being the logo, the texture on their finish, just my type. Modern, cool, sleek. And when I heard, and then the performance and the quality of parts inside, top notch. So when I heard they were doing a surround sound processor, I needed one to replace my old Emotiva that's crapped out. So they've allowed me to get one for review coming up, and I already have somebody willing to buy one sight unseen because of looking for my advice. And I can almost guarantee this one's going to be superior to anything I've had before as a surround sound processor. Dirac is included, Dirac, however you say it. But I'm more interested in the whole package of Primaire being in my home theater, having that cost no object performance at not a cost no object price. So very excited to have that and have my home theater up and running again. And many people tell you, especially before I had the Bach, that was what people would definitely come over to listen to because I put hundreds of hours into tuning that home theater. And so that'll be back in business soon. But on another note, there were some speakers I wanted to go take a look at that I guess from other shows, especially Expona, really intrigued me. And pretty much I would say there's not going to be a best of show today because everything impressed me so much. But one of the things that I'll probably never forget from today was listening to the PMC Fenestria that I was so impressed with design-wise at Expona. But it was in a cramped hotel room. I knew, just based on my experience going to these shows, I was never going to hear the potential of what I was hearing that was resonating with me with its design, transmission line, the isolation of the tweeter, everything about it, the pedigree of the company, and other designs I had heard from them in the past had a lot of potential. So when I got to hear them, and I went into that room first, I have two videos. I went in there and they weren't playing the Fenestrias, but they said they were going to do a dedicated demo. I made sure I got there, got the center spot, and waited until the time for the demo, and it was worth the wait and the extra visit because that was an exceptional speaker that is definitely to my taste. I'm not normally a box speaker guy, but if you're going to do it and be in my list of things that resonate with me, the top loading, the bottom loading bass, kind of a point source array like I do with my N Extremes, that's my type. And the transmission line on top of that has some advantages that I've found over the years, if done right, over some other bass loading designs. And then that tweeter, what really stood out to me that wasn't the bass. It was good. It's certainly great. Definitely met expectations, if not exceeded it. But the integration, the coherency, and then when mid-range and tweeter were performing, that was goosebump worthy, and I'd rarely get goosebumps, especially on a song I don't even know. So that stood out to me. Props to them. It wasn't the most perfect room, but you definitely, I think if you go in that room, have a dedicated demo, you can sniff the potential of that being a cost no object option for a lot of people. That wasn't on my list prior. It's definitely in my top 10, if not much higher. So props to them. Another one from Axpona that really stood out, I had to go listen to the bigger version, was Brodmann. Again, very innovative design, the kind of stuff that I'm looking for, people pushing things forward, not just regurgitating old designs. And this one just blew me away because it's a track, that jazz variants track, everybody plays it now. It started at the home entertainment show, for, at least for me, first time I had ever heard it, and I've gone to countless shows over 20, 30 years, was the Margulis Room 4 or 5 years ago. Now everybody plays it. So I've heard it a lot. And there was nothing better than what I heard today. Actually, they had set the new bar in Axpona with their smaller model. But the way they're able to get such realism, and then this one with even more dynamics, more realism, but the imaging is just so amazing. You know, I don't know if the top end was as good as the Fenestrias. You know, there's going to be pieces I'd love of the Brodmann and the Fenestrias for almost perfection, which is hard to get, especially from show auditions. But I might be going back to Brodmann after hours, doing a totally dedicated demo with some of my other tracks. I want to test it on other things, because that's a speaker that is now, like the Fenestria, if you've got cost no object budget, it's got to be in that contender. I mean, you've got to hear it to see if it resonates with you. Like I think it's going to resonate. At least it resonates with me and a lot of other people that I've talked to. And then, of course, if you've got super cost no object, but if you're in the 0.0001% of both audiophiles and riches, you're going to want to check out the Aries Cerat room with the Contendo. Oh, and you also have to have the 0.001% patience in the world, because you have to wait like 3 years minimum if you want to order that Contendo. But I tell you what, guys, it would be worth the wait. If you've got the room for that Contendo, that was incredible. It was just, Stavros always impresses me. And really, I want to go back, because not only is the great room worthy of going back to, but turntable. I've never seen him do a turntable. This was the first time he's done a turntable, and that was not your run-of-the-mill turntable. If you saw in that video, go check it out. I'm sure there's a lot of innovative things, just like with his speakers, just truly innovative design. Again, a lot of people think high-end is just a big price in a fancy box. When you start to go to these shows, what you want to discern is which ones are just putting regular parts or kind of fancy parts with traditional designs. Which ones are doing that versus ones that are truly doing bespoke, advancement, high-tech stuff that you don't see elsewhere. And Aries Cerat is right. Almost nobody copies or can copy what they're doing. It's very innovative, unique, bespoke. They deserve that. You know, if you've got the budget, cost no object, it's your money, that's probably a good place to start if you're interested. On that same note, MBL is always among the best of the best. You know, two things with MBL. They cover every base. I mean, you cannot find any fault with what they do at these shows. They always, it's so hard when you're among all these brands with mega dollar gear. How do you always stand out as soon as you go into the room? The professionalism, the presentations by Jurgen and Jeremy setting it up. And this show is great because you get to see every model that they make pretty much in that room, plus the presentation, which I only got caught a part of it when I went into the room, and I've got more to release, actually. He's going to talk about volume controls, which I'll even admit, the one area where analog still beats digital. I know I'm Mr. DSP, but there can be advantages with analog volume controls, especially if you're having to attenuate a lot with digital. You do lose a little bit of dynamic range that can be audible. So, and even Edgar has said it in the Zooms that I've published. He's a big digital guy, Bach, but he acknowledges that that's one area where analog is still got some advantages, and you're going to hear Jürgen talk about that in the video I release. But I'm going to have plenty more about MBL because I'm going to their dinner and thing tomorrow night. If you watched me film that last year, that's a phenomenal function. Another top-notch thing that MBL does. Best of the best, right up there. MBL, Aries Cerat, they do everything and do everything at incredible levels. Just top-notch. Another one that does presentation that was impressive. Now, that the room wasn't as impressive and probably wasn't the right room for those speakers, but Lawrence Dickey with Vivid Audio, he's got the pedigree of doing the BMW Nautilus, and this new Vivid Moya M1 has been getting a lot of buzz, especially on Facebook, that I've been noticing, and I've been wanting to hear it, and I accidentally just passed that room. I didn't even have it technically on my list, but wow, that presentation was exceptional because, again, if you just go in there and listen in that room, it's not the right room for those speakers, and probably you'd come out disappointed on sound metrics. But when you understand the design, what they did behind it, you kind of now can sniff the potential, put that in the proper room and treat it. That will probably get you state-of-the-art performance that goes with the quality of engineering, pedigree, and people behind it. So that was a lot of fun. That's probably the longest video I released today. It was over 30 minutes, but and I wasn't bored at all. So check that out if you do have time, because sometimes at these shows, it's the presentation from the designers that is more important than the sound quality and the music clips. And again, sometimes you want a polished presentation from a marketing guy, or do you want the designer who's not a public speaker? This is a great chance for you to determine what you like. I like the guys that are designing it, talking. I don't need the super polished presentation, and they had some glitches during it, but I don't hold that against them. This is just first day stuff. Show conditions are not what you would get in a regular environment. So props to Vivid, and that was a great presentation. Getting back to things that stand out as new today, very rare for me to find things new that I haven't seen before. But I went into the Thrax and Lanche room, and I even said in the middle of the video, I said, guys, I'm on it, because I could probably tell you guys are watching, what the hell is that below the analog tape? And I thought it was some vintage piece, rare piece from Japan, you know, that I'd never heard of, because I'm not an analog tape guy, at least yet. And so as I was walking out, I was talking to Oz, and he introduced me to the guy that had the piece, because he wasn't familiar with it either, and got to meet, I think his name's Jonathan, and he told me about this company. It's called Hachidori, and this is their brand new product, brand new company. I thought it was some legacy famous piece I never knew about. So it had that pedigree and design element that you think high-end and pedigree right off the bat. But then when you talk to him, it's an expensive piece, $70-something thousand. So I know that's going to trigger some people and be polarizing. And good luck to him starting a company with that kind of piece in that niche of analog tape. But I love finding these kind of pieces. And then he showed me another little piece, much more reasonable, that's kind of a tweak and measurement tool for analog tape head guys. These are the type of things I like to find, under the radar stuff that, you know, other YouTubers or whatever, press probably won't want to concentrate on, dedicated video to, because it's not going to get the views or whatever. But this is the kind of stuff that, who knows, it could resonate with some of you out there, and just be, to me, it's just interesting. So props to him, and good luck to him with his new company. In terms of props, though, I got to give major props to the rooms like MBL and all that set it up so well, and none does it better than Kharma. And I met the owner at the musical artisans dealer thing at Expona, that event I went to off-site. Definitely check out that video, because I'm going to talk about another company I met the owner designer as well. But Kharma, they put a room within a room. He shows up, I think, a week at a time, but even does a subfloor. I mean, and then he had the first time I've ever seen an art frame, and then he framed one of the products in there. That was brilliant and just cool, just major props, and it sounded great. My type of design, if you're going to do a box speaker for me, that innovative carbon fiber drivers too, not your run-of-the-mill carbon fiber. I had to ask him about that, because I'd never seen that type of carbon fiber driver. Diamond tweeters, pedigree off the shelf, looks off the charts. Yeah, props to Kharma. And really, while I'm on that, I'm going to talk about Engstrom, because that was another brand that I've known about, but I hadn't known anything about them for the most part until I went to the Musical Artisans dealer event at Expona, and the Timo was there. I think he'd pronounce it Timo or Timu. Sorry if I'm getting that wrong, but got to talk to him about his designs. And from just in the aesthetic standpoint, that is perfect for my taste for a tube amp. And the one I saw today, the even bigger one, even more to my taste. It was just perfect aesthetics. If I had to buy a tube amp right now on aesthetics alone, that was it. But the sound, as I sat down, it had those two qualities that I like. It's also fully balanced, which I like for sure. That's extra cost involved to doing that, and people will argue about the cost benefit of doing that. But what I was hearing and what I was seeing is the type that I can now, after two exposures recently, it's on my top of the list if I'm looking at a tube amp to consider, and one you guys might want to consider as well. Now, another one that I've seen at prior shows, especially I think it was Tampa, Gauder Akustiks. It was right next to the NBL room, so it's a good counterbalance between point source, cost no object, big array type speaker, and also the NBLs, which are more omnidirectional. And again, they continue to impress me. They set up a great room. I do remember seeing them last year, but they really stood out to me in Tampa. And then this room again, top notch. And another room, let's talk about ones that always impress me. It's almost like commonplace. Alsyvox, just tremendous. And with the Pilium, it works really good. The dynamics you get from just the thin membrane, line source is my type of speaker. They just top notch, and definitely in one of my cost no object top speakers to audition if you have the chance, because it gives you a different flavor than maybe the Fenestrias and the Gauder Akustiks, and then NBLs as well. These are the type of things that you're going to want to listen for and see which ones resonate with you when you have that cost no object budget. But certainly if you're in there, that's one you want to check out. Another one is Estelon. Now, they didn't have their Extreme Mark II, which I think is one of the best in the world speakers, but they bring the right speaker for the room that they have. And again, that cabinet is among the best in the hobby, in the industry, period. When I listen to Estelons, especially when I go behind them, I feel like I'm listening to an open baffle speaker. Just the way they are able to structure that cabinet where the drivers almost float in air, and you don't have the boxy colorations and diffractions and stuff. It's just, and then not just for the technical side of things, when you talk about the performance and the look side of things, that is where the Estelons really shine, and love seeing them. That horizon blue finish, I love all of their finishes. It's just amazing. I would have the toughest time choosing that. That would be the most neurotic thing with me, picking which color. But that horizon blue was great. And it was also great seeing Alyssa. If you haven't been a long-time subscriber, I have a full interview with Alyssa of Estelon. She's the CEO of the company. And you might want to search my archives if you want to learn more. It's very informative, great Zoom interview if you want to check that out. Now I want to talk about one thing just real quick. At the very end of the day, you got to go in this room, Grandinote. I couldn't get into the sweet spot and listen to the gear. But just to shout out that cake, they have this famous cake designer in there, and they're serving also part of cakes and pastry she makes, as well as some champagne. Very innovative, cool. But she made an amplifier cake, and at first glance, when I was just filming, I didn't even notice until I did double take and then put two and two together. She's a cake designer, and then you look closer. That was so cool and realistic. Definitely something to check out if you're here. Now, two other common ones that I always love, YG and Hyphn. I didn't know the Hyphn was going to be here, but I passed the Vitus room and saw that in there, the distinctive clothespin shape, and got in there, didn't get the sweet spot. The gentleman that was there was staying in that sweet spot a long time, so I had to leave. But I'll probably try to go back, do a walkthrough of the gear, because the Vitus gear is really nice. Aesthetically, the black and white finish, that room is always, they create a room within a room too, much like Kharma. Top notch. Definitely give props to rooms that do that, because those rooms natively are terrible. I mean, I know, because Edgar had a room last year in there, and because we had DSP, we could make it listenable, and he just put a few treatments. But anybody that doesn't, those rooms are terrible. So props go to looking at the room treatments in there. That's going to be part of the equation of what you're hearing and why some of these rooms sound better than the others. So don't overlook that. And then a YG, they have a huge room at the end of the hall, less noise floor when you're at the end of the hall. They're smart. And then what was playing today was kind of like an optical illusion. I couldn't even get the actual speakers playing in the view of my video. But I think it's pretty cool that the other speakers, which were much more massive, 2 chassis, the higher price point ones, you probably did not detect that it was leaner or a smaller speaker performing it. There's a great evidence of what YG's doing is stuff that I'm very much applauding in the hobby. People moving to active design. They have everything from the DAC, and everything is in the cabinet. It's in a tray that actually can be upgraded, as you heard him say, that you can turn your YG from active to passive with that tray at the bottom. Brilliant way, and it's decoupled from the rest of the speaker, so that again you don't have to worry about your electronics being in the same violent environment. But active electronics, he's got over 5 kilowatts or whatever he said, and every driver has a speaker. And I did learn that Bel Canto is doing the DAC and the electronics modified, but internally for them. So that's a company with some good pedigree working with YG, and I still want to hear that big sub that they have. Hopefully 3MA will have it, because they're a dealer for YG. But I will go back to that room tomorrow to hear the bigger ones if I can get a chance. Hopefully I will. I think there's a press event, so I'm going to try to attend that. But props to them. Oh, another video that I haven't released. I'll probably release it shortly after I release this. Wanted to give you guys a heads up, though. I went into the ESD room. Now, I didn't target that room, but it's so massive. It's 2 huge rooms. It takes you have entrances on 2 hallways. The only room at the show, I think, that's like this. But you need it for that ESD Horns. And if you remember from Expona and my prior year's coverage, I've covered this ESD Horns many times. And it gets a lot of polarizing comments, because it's so pricey. I think the one in Expona was over $4 million with the special lacquer finish. And it was too small a room for that speaker. So, that's why it probably didn't show up on anybody's best of sound list, and people were probably ragging on it. But this one, much better in terms of unique, in terms of I had never seen the cabinet structure with the marbled carbon fiber. Now that's something cool. And I like the carbon fiber drivers over that lacquer finish. I know that was an extra $1 million at Expona they were saying for that lacquer. I don't like it at all. And but this looks really cool. And so today, though, I didn't spend much time in front of those because it's just not a realistic speaker. I mean, nobody has the room for that and the size for that and budget for that. It's cool to check out, and other press are going to gravitate to that kind of room anyway. But what I did want to do was take a look at the driver design, which they did have set up. Props to them, not just focusing on the big, sexy, press catching stuff. I went to the other stuff, and that's when they came up to me. And actually, they were filming me talking to the designer, which was cool. And we were talking about the field coil. But the problem was my video got blocked, totally blocked, because they were playing Eagles, Hotel California in the background. Just an industry note. If you play that in your room, nobody with a YouTube video is going to be able to see that video, because Eagles just block. They don't even most of my videos I make zero money from at these shows, because YouTube takes all the money, give it all to the artist. I'm fine with that. It's an investment I make because I enjoy doing it for you guys, and I enjoy doing it for myself. Document my life. I like doing this. But I don't like spending all this time filming a video and then YouTube tells me it's blocked because this artist is going to be that kind of guy and say block everything. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Probably the music label, not the artist. But in any case, whatever it is. So there is an option when this happens. Usually I just, chalk it up and delete the video. But there is an option where you can tell YouTube to mute the blocked portion of the audio during that video. And that's what I chose to do because I thought it was still meaningful the part before it got muted to show you that ESD horns. But also what I was able to do, which you didn't hear in the muted part, was I was able to get them, believe it or not, to tell that I just asked, could I hear the other ones? And when are you going to play it? I didn't ask, can I hear it? I said, when are you going to play those? I'd come back to hear the smaller ones, the Bluetooth field coils in the cool engine, airplane engine. And they said, they'll do it right now. So they turned off the main system as the song Hotel California was ending. And then the audio comes back in and you can hear their field coil, much more reasonable, under 20,000. I think it's around 15,000. So it's a very cool, innovative design, field coil. And there was no chair for me to sit in. I was actually on my knees holding the camera. But I think you'll get a taste of other things from ESD, not just the polarizing mega dollar speaker that people love and love to hate for various reasons. So props to them for doing that for me. Sorry guys, it has some muted parts, but definitely check out that video if you get a chance. And I think, IO Designs. I did go to IO because you're saying, why didn't you go to IO Designs if you target everything? I did go to IO Designs, and I think David was taking a lunch break because everything was locked up and nobody was there. So I'll definitely be back to IO Designs. But it also brings up another macro point of this show that I love, and that is I saw Robert, the most hardcore audiophile that I've featured before in California, and Jerry, a member of my channel. This all started, they are now business partners and both represent IO Design. Jerry has the IO Designs in his home for a home dealer. And so does, I think Robert's getting a pair for his home, and he's representative of IO Designs. And this all came from last year when I covered IO Designs. And they got together, and this is something that I'm really proud of with the channel, not just certain things. It's about how many relationships have been formed. My WhatsApp group, now we're pushing close to 100 members, and people are forming relationships, maybe not business ones per se, but people are DMing each other and seeing each other when they visit other towns. It's this sense of community and enjoying the hobby daily with WhatsApp messages that if you don't live in a town or you can't go to these shows, you get that chance to experience the hobby a lot more. And what you start to realize is that the gear is not the only thing you can focus on. It's those relationships, the music we talk about, the DSP, the advancements in the hobby, the insider stuff that I talk about, all the fun stuff. So you're welcome to join the WhatsApp group and join us for the fun. Definitely don't hesitate to say hi. It was great taking pictures with many of you guys today. And I'll be back out there tomorrow. I'm pushing 30 minutes on this video, so I'm going to wrap it up now, but I'll see you back out there soon.